Hello, welcome to Brimwood Farm. I've taken advantage of beautiful September to come up to the farm, and it is so hot, it's lovely. We're going to try and crack on with some work today, although it's super dry, so I can't really do any pond work. I can cut brambles and things like that back, but we can't really do any pond work, putting plants in, putting trees in, because it's just too early in the season, it's too dry. What I thought I would do is another questions and answer video. And although I sat down last time, I thought I would walk you around the farm this time, and I'll answer as we kind of go through the various fields. The muck heap has gone, so they've spread that, and they've spread that on the ground. You can see all the poo has been spread across this pasture, which is very nice to see. So a first little update on kind of our progression to the land. So as you know, we're going to try and build a house here. We've got an old barn. We're going to apply for planning permission to convert that into a house, but all of our money is tied up in our current house. So we were going to try and sell our current house, move here, live in a caravan, get the new house built. However, the logistics of planning means that we need planning before we can move a caravan on site. And to get planning, it costs money, which is tied up in the house. So actually what we're going to do is we're going to sell our house. We're going to move just up the road to the local town and rent. And then from our house sale, we can put away 20k for rent and utilities. So we don't have to worry about actually paying any of that for a year. And then with the rest of the money, we can put that into starting the build and starting the businesses, because I'll need to buy animals, we'll need to build aviaries, we'll need to pay utilities to get water and things here. So I think that will probably be the best way around it, and then hopefully after that first year we'll either be making enough money from the land to continue renting, or hopefully even a better solution is we'll have started the build, we'll have planning, we can buy a caravan, move into the caravan, and then just live. Once you've got planning, you can live. Permitted development allows you to live in a caravan for up to 5 years on site. So we can then live in the caravan on site whilst the build is going ahead. And then obviously any money we make from the farm can be ploughed into completing our house. So that is the kind of plan for us, for our move. And that's going to be happening not that far away now. So we are September 2019 and we are coming in 2020. So I'm doing, as I said before, I'm doing one more season of lambing at work and one more season of kidding at work, and then we'll be looking at probably next April, May time, picking up sticks, selling our house and moving. So let's get on to the questions. So Alex Holtham, one of my patrons, asked me how the wildflower meadow is doing. And as if by magic, this is where I have strolled to, and it is doing really well. So behind me you can see that the meadow has pretty much been cut. So our tenant farmer has come in and he has just topped this field, taken all the grass and the weeds down. However, this is the reason I love my tenant farmer, because he also really cares about wildlife and thinks about wildlife and thinks what's best. So he has, in his infinite wisdom, left a strip of wildflowers, because a lot of them have still got the seed heads on. So although he's topped the majority of the field, which is needed to keep it down and to keep it coming back year after year, and obviously when we are here we'll actually use animals to graze it down, he has left this lovely strip. So he's just come in with a tractor and you can see he's left this strip, and we've got all these seed heads. And these obviously will get blown around by the wind. And so you can see he's left a nice strip, and they will get blown by the wind, and they'll get blown from here across into here. The other really nice thing is, because he's topped it quite early, it means you can now see the size of the field, and we can come in here in the autumn, so November, December, and then early winter, and start planting trees. So before I was thinking, oh, I must remember to tell him we're going to be planting trees, so he's going to have to tractor around them. But actually, the way it's worked out is good, because he's already topped it, and he's not going to need to top it again, because we're going to put the trees in this winter, and then next winter, or next end of next summer, when this would normally be topped, we'll be here. So I'll be here on site to either have it topped by a tractor, or we'll stick the sheep in here and have them graze it down. So it's going really, really well. I never found that skylark nest. I think they did have one, so I'm assuming they raised some babies, which will be good. I'm just walking up this side of the wildflower meadow, of this patch that he's left. And it's really pretty. I love the seed heads. I mean, yes, they're old, but they're kind of cool. And you look across them all. So I think that's pretty in itself. And it's been a huge success, and it's worked the way I wanted it to work. And it was fairly cheap. We crowdfunded the money to get all of the seeds, and then the seed company also threw in a load of seeds for free as well, which was very, very nice of them. So all in all, it only cost us a few £100. It was less than a grand. It's maybe 500-600 quid to put this in, and this is its 4th or 5th year, and it's doing really well. So we're going to head out of the wildflower meadow field and towards some of the other pastures. And next I've got a couple of questions from another Patreon, Max Bardwell, and he has asked, firstly, what style house are we going to have? And then secondly, how are we going to water everything? So are we going to use mains water, rainwater, wells, things like that? So first with the house, we are planning quite a modern house. So we are converting an old cattle shed, but I personally don't see the point of building the same as everybody else, just building a carbon copy. I don't really like buildings when they're converted and they're converted to look old, because history should remain history, so you should just hold sort of medieval buildings. I'm not a fan of putting beams in and making them look like beams. So fairly modern. We're going to use a lot of glass, but we're going to clad it in like wrinkly tin. So black wrinkly tin, depending on where in the world you're from. So it's going to look modern, but also remain quite barn-like. So the cladding will be this black wrinkly tin stuff. We are constricted by planning rules to remain within the current cattle shed, so we can't have anything that comes out of the cattle shed higher or wider, and we also have to keep the profile, so the roof will have to remain the same. So it's going to stay looking like a barn, but one side we hope will be completely glass, so it will really just look out across to the sunset, and be fairly modern. We also want to put in a lot of green energy and sustainable stuff. So we would like a small wind turbine. Again, we have to think about planning and permission with that, and that may not be able to be part of the house. It may have to be a separate planning permission somewhere else on the farm, because it can't be used with the conversion. And solar panels, ground source heat pumps, things like that. We just want to make it as low cost as possible, so our income doesn't have to be high to cover expenses, and high sustainability and low impact. But modern, we do want it modern. Unfortunately, with the restrictions put upon us by planning, it does mean that a lot of our initial ideas we can't use. So we originally wanted a flat roof that could be green and have solar panels on. We can't do that because of the profile of the roof. We can't have a wind turbine, as I mentioned, on the top. Even little things like having a wood burner so we could grow our own wood for heating. You can't even have a wood burning flue sticking out the top of your roof. So we're trying to think of a way that we can actually include it in the profile. So we may have a wall that comes along and then comes back and then goes out. So we have the flue sitting in that hole, because we can just draw the wall back, if you see what I mean. So we have to work around that with the architect, but that's what we're planning for the house. So in terms of water, we're going to use a variety of sources. When I was a kid, my granddad only had well water, And I remember distinctly there were a couple of summers that were really, really hot, and we had to go down to the local village to buy drinking water because there was nothing left. I'm fairly sure that the chap who bought the old farmer house and converted most of the old buildings into holiday lets has had mains water piped up. So we're going to use hopefully some mains water. The good thing about not being able to change the profile of the barn is that the expansive roof is massive. So we're going to try and collect as much rainwater off there as possible, and then also recycle water from the house. So we'll have rainwater and grey water to give to animals and to water the market garden. So we're going to use multiple sources. There's also the potential that I could possibly in the future drill my own well, but I haven't looked into costs at all. So I have no idea how much that costs compared with how much we'd have to pay for water anyway. So I need to do some real calculations about savings and costs and whether that would actually be an efficient way to get water here. But definitely use as much rainwater as possible. This, by the way, is a lovely orchard. It's not actually ours anymore. So this field was our front meadow field, and when we sold the farmhouse, this field came with it, and he's turned it into this beautiful apple orchard that they're just starting to make their own cider from. So living next to a cider distillery will be rather nice. And then for our final question, it comes from Laura Abbey, who asks, I'm just going to navigate this ditch. So she asks, how will you make income on the farm? And that is a good question, because although we have all this land, and as I said before, it's about 45 acres, for farming, that's not a lot. So we can't do anything big scale. We can't become a commercial dairy. We can't grow wheat and barley because there's not enough room. There's not enough land. So we're going to have to do a lot more smaller projects and a lot more diverse projects. And actually, I think that is the way that farming is probably going, because even farmers that have thousands of acres find it so tough to make ends meet. So I think we may be sort of going back in history almost to a time when you had lots of smaller farms doing their own thing, selling food locally. So we'll be doing the pheasantry, so rearing ornamental pheasants for people's aviaries and gardens and other farms. I intend to have obviously the local rare breeds, so red poll cattle, Eastworth chickens, Suffolk sheep, Norfolk horns, things like that, that will provide us with meat, and I will raise stud stock, so breeding ewes, breeding rams, things like that I hope to take to shows, win rosettes, get good prices for, but again small scale. So we're not talking about having hundreds of sheep, we're talking about having a flock of 10, potentially 20, maybe a herd of 5 heifers and a bull. So again, small scale stuff. We'll have honey, we'll have bees, so we'll have a honey hopefully. We'll have a market garden, so I hope to raise stuff in the market garden, do veg boxes, do local food fairs. YouTube, so obviously I'm going to chronicle our entire venture on YouTube, so hopefully we'll make a little bit of income from YouTube itself to help fund the process, and hopefully that's kind of something that I've been building over the past few years to help us with this move, because we've already started earning that income to come in. So it'll be a lot of different things, a lot of smaller enterprises that will come together and help us live. And obviously, as I've already said, we're going to try and make our impact on the land as low as possible, which means we shouldn't have as many expenses either. So hopefully we will be living a fairly good life. So I hope that has answered a few of your questions, and also in the background you'll have seen a bit more of the farm as we wandered around through the wildflower meadow, different pastures, the orchard, etc. If you've liked the video, please hit the subscribe button and the like button. If you're on Facebook, come and join us at Brimwood Farm's community group. If you want to get more involved in the farm and ask the questions that I've kind of answered here, pop across to Patreon as well, and you could always join me over there and help develop the farm But I shall see you again very soon. Bye bye.